pleasant good morning to everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Coles Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network. Yours truly, Coles Brown here. Today's guest menu for July 29th, 2023 is the following. Of course, guest co-host, as usual, Charles Edmond will join us very shortly on today's show. Then our very special guest will be Southern University's defensive line coach Damarcus Miller joins us in hour number one. Then in hour number two, our usual guys, Coach Vann Pettaway and Willer Brown, will join us on today's show. Here's what's trending on the Coles Brown Show. The SWAC announces the football preseason selections are in. We'll talk a lot about that in hour number one. Also, Pepsi announces their largest SWAC partnership to date with the Southwestern Athletic Conference. The SWAC also announces their ESPN football schedule. We'll get a little bit into that. Also, what's trending here on the Coles Brown Show, FAMU selects Bridget Gordon as their new women's basketball coach. That's what's trending here on the Coles Brown Show. We'll be joined very shortly by Charles Edmond here. Charles, good morning to you. Welcome. How you doing?
Good morning, Carlos Brown and everybody.
Well, of course, the SWAC football preseason predictions are in. First and foremost, Joe, talk about SWAC Football Media Day 2023. Of course, I wasn't able to attend. Boy, Charles, I missed my first one since 2009. So I was really missing everyone, but sometimes things come up. You can't get it done. But you were there. Talk a little bit about it.
Well, first of all, you were missed. I will say that. It's, when you're there, you bounce around. It's the conversation. It's always, when we're all used to the usual cast of characters that are there.
Right,
When the
right.
usual cast of characters are not there, it's a different vibe for sure. So you were missed. I want to say that. I think Media Day was Media Day. I mean, you get a chance to talk with all the coaches and players. And you get a chance to see your colleagues that you only see just a handful of times a year. I did something different this year. I did the video piece with my producer, Cedric Tillman was there. That was his first Media Day. And he says we will be back. And good conversation with Dr. Graville, Charles Bishop, John Grant, had intense conversations, kind of a mini lab right there in the restaurant in Birmingham, talking about guarantee games and the like. But, there's no question about it. If you just want to step back and take a big picture look at it. Mm-hmm. And my question, I've said it for the last 6 months, and we've talked about it, what will the vibe be this year considering what? And it was a little bit, to me, it was a little bit of a different vibe. You didn't see that sizzle. You didn't feel that sizzle. Not to say that it wasn't a good media day. It was. I think they had everybody spread out even more so. You had the podcast room with the Black College Sports Network and HBCU game day off on the other side. And of course, we had Radio Row along with the Blue Bloods. I got a chance to meet the guy with the Blue Bloods. I'm glad I was able to meet him. But I thought overall, Media Day was really good. And I think the one challenge that we have to deal with, and this is kind of behind the scenes, and I got the copy of the schedule. Coaches and players have obligations to do interviews in different kind of segments. So this year, you had the podium. That was Jay Walker, Tiffany Green. You had ESPN Plus. You had the SWAC Digital Network. You had Radio Row, where I was. And then you had the virtual interviews. So you had players and coaches, do the song and dance and dealing with all 5 of those units. And then you had lunch mixed in there. And then you picked up the interviews on the other side of lunch. Some of us, and it's not a complaint. It's just a tough thing. You're trying to get all the coaches, all the players, and try to get it in as quickly as you can. And that's tough. And I brought up a point, it's years ago, and I don't think it's going to happen. But, in other conferences, Media Day is a couple of day event. We got 12 teams in the league now. I wonder, is that something that we could think about? I don't think it's going to happen. I think that'll fall on deaf ears. A 2-day event's probably, you don't need 2 days, but I think you can maybe start it a little earlier, stretch it out a little bit to where you can get everything in. But other than that, and I think that's been a yearly issue every year. I try to get all the coaches. I fell short this year. I didn't get Coach Dooley or Valley's coach. I didn't get a chance to get those two. Coach Dooley was headed our way, but then the schedule got thrown off and he had to deal with the SWAC, all the other stuff, the other interviews. So we got a little off track. But, I think overall, and it's not a complaint, it's just something that you always want to work to try to improve. And the conference does a good job in getting your feedback. But overall, I thought it was a good media day. I thought y'all got a lot done. And talking with the coaches, and it's just a lot of good stuff. Talking with Coach McKinney and talking about Andrew Body. Of course, Fred McNair wants to get things back to where they need to be. Obviously, you talk with Hugh Jackson, looking nice and dapper. I think you get a lot of good stuff, a lot of good nuggets, a lot of good information, talking with the different ADs. So I thought Media Day was really good, really insightful. And now it's just a matter of getting it done on the field with all the new coaches, with all the different quarterbacks, with all the different storylines, with all the different pressures that some coaches are feeling. I think it's safe to say that it's going to be a very intriguing football season.
I would agree. SWAC Football Media Day. Only one tip to you, Charles. Again, I missed my first one since 2009. I try to get a nice nutritional breakfast because a lot of times you're working and you're moving. It's hard work. So lunch is something I don't say I'm going to get. I have to have, because again, you're busy, you're working, you're enjoying it, but you're working. A lot of people have emailed me, text me about predictions, your personal predictions, your sleepers. As you can see, while you were talking in the chat room, we've got a couple of questions about some sleepers as well. But I'm just going to say this: it's good for the engagement, your colleagues, the interest. It piques the interest of who's going to be number one, who's going to win the East, who's going to win the West. And the good thing about that, you have that on as a record. So I like to compare and contrast. At the end of the season, let's see how close I was personally and the prognosticators. Also, we've talked about this at length. Coaches and SIDs, the media, they don't have a vote in the process. So some people express their opinions on that to me. And we've done it on this show and numerous shows. But at the end of the day, all of this is great, good storylines. It makes the enthusiasm and the interest for this upcoming football season. But at the end of the day, it's going to be played on the football field. And some people already have talked to me about, wow, the Jackson State alums, they're not happy because they're not picked number one in the East. It's going to be all right. It's going to be played on the field. I think Jackson State is still a very good football team and a dangerous football team. So they'll have a little chip on their shoulders. Alcorn State, they got picked second again. I saw a little footage of Coach McNair. Seems like he has a little chip on his shoulder. But that's just what makes everything so interesting. And again, it's going to be played on the field, and you can come back and compare and contrast. Good morning to everyone in the chat room. Adrian says some people love polls like JSU. Adrian always goes after Jackson State. Let me do this, and then we'll continue on with the show. I want to announce a proud new sponsor of the Coles Brown Show here on the Black College Sports Network. The Blue and Gold Club became a supporter of the Coles Brown Show. I'll announce the club activities on a weekly basis right here on the show. With that being said, the Blue and Gold Century Club will have its kickoff meeting On Wednesday, 7 p.m. in the Field House, the Tony Clayton Room at the Famous Day. Refreshments will be served. Membership is open to any and everyone. They are proud, the Blue and Gold Club, they are proud supporters of Jaguar Athletics. The Blue and Gold Club will have first-class bus trips all of Southern University's away games, travel with the Blue and Gold Century Club. And they will be traveling to Montgomery, Alabama, first game on September the 2nd, and it will be a price tag, $165, which will include game tickets and refreshments. Now, check this out. Parents of Southern University football players will receive a special discount. So for more information, call Craig Pierre at 225-324-7234. That's Craig Pierre at 225-324-7234. The Blue and Gold Century Club, a proud sponsor of the Carlos Brown Show. And we really appreciate it. And they really do. When I first started getting involved with Southern University Athletics, that was a group, and then there are others, but that was a group that I first had a relationship with. And so we welcome aboard as a proud sponsor of the Carlos Brown Show. Now, Charles, with that being said, I'm going to just quickly give my predictions that we sent into the Black College Sports Network, and then you'll give yours quickly. Then we'll get into maybe a quick timeout, and then we'll come back and we'll put the graphic up for the official preseason football predictions. So I'm going to start in the East. And let's see. I've got all my security in place here because sometimes the Jackson State people, two
you got
in
it outside the house?
Inside and outside. And two, I think about one person, or actually two. One is pretty mild-mannered, and the other one is not mild-mannered. But we won't mention their name, but you probably know who it is. In the East, I'll start with 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I had Bethune-Cookman coming in at 6, the 6th place in the East. New coach, new atmosphere. It's just in my humble opinion, it's going to take them a few years to get everything going. Mississippi Valley State, I had them at number 5, and I tussle between Bethune-Cookman and Mississippi Valley State, but Mississippi Valley State, new coach, Coach Wade. Social media, I see the offensive coordinator out and about everywhere. Also, I looked at some of the social media, some of the transfer portal student athletes that have came in, and every year we say how hard that Valley's going to play. I don't see it any different this year, and they have gotten better talent-wise. That's my humble opinion, and also a full allotment of scholarships I'm hearing for them. So give them time, but I got them 5th. Alabama A&M coming in at number 4 in the Coles Browns prediction. Coach Maynard, a flamboyant guy, offensive guy. Last year, they turned over their team, and now year 2 of a lot of those players coming back. They could be improved overall, but the record may not show it. Then, number 3, Alabama State. Coach Eddie Robinson had his team prepared. They were tough. Defensively, they got it done. They have the offensive side of the ball like others in this conference, and then trying to get better on the offensive side. But I got the number 3. Number 2, who very well, they've won the Eastern Division the last few years and overall SWAC championship, and they very well could do it again this year. I got Jackson State coming in at number 2. Coach Taylor, new coach, breaking in a new quarterback, defensive line stacked, outstanding talent. And then FAMU, of course, coming in number 1 on the Eastern side. Let me quickly go on the West side. At 6, I got UAPB, new coach, very enthusiastic. He's going to build that program, a lot of experience. Watch out for them. Now, I kind of tussled again with 5, 4, 3. I got Texas Southern at 5th. Wait a minute, franchise. What are you talking about? They got Andrew Body. They improved defensively. They defeated Southern 2 years in a row. I know that makes your day, right, TSU alums? I understand. Defensively, improved. Got a new defensive coordinator. It's going to be very aggressive. But I'm going to pretend that I'm from Missouri, the state of Missouri. You have to show me, Texas Southern, defensively, can you improve, really improve? But I got Texas Southern 5th. And again, I tussle. I almost put Grambling State at 5th, but I got them at 4th, but they very well could slide down. Yeah, Charles, you're looking intense there. Grambling State University, Coach Hugh Jackson, year 2, they have improved. They are talking a lot on social media that they feel that they're going to really challenge for the title. Played on the field, but we're just talking predictions here and opinions. But I got Grambling State at number 4. Prairie View A&M, number 3. Nobody really ever talks about Prairie View A&M, but they were very close, as was Texas Southern, to winning the Western Division. Prairie View A&M has a returning quarterback coming back. They just want to improve from a quarterback standpoint. Defensively, they were very solid. So I have Prairie View A&M number 3. Number 2, I got the Alcorn State Braves. And I get it. They got a lot of love. Some Southern alums said they would have picked Alcorn State. And Southern goes to the reservation this year. That's going to be a tough road game. Alcorn's bringing in a new quarterback. Defense solid. O-line, I don't know. Question marks there from the outside looking in. But what I am sold on is Coach Fred McNair. Charles, I've talked to some Alcorn Knights, just a few, a sample size, and they seem like they have grown tired of Coach McNair. Really? Really? I don't agree with that. But anyway, and then coming in at number 1, expectations are always high. I will go on a hunger strike. And let me say this. One of my colleagues had Southern 3rd. If that happens, yeah. One of our colleagues at the Black College Sports Network had him 3rd. And he's a respected guy, Dr. Kenyatta Cavill. If that happens, I'm going in hiding. I'm going to Tibet. I'm going to become a monk, and I'm going on a hunger strike. I'm being facetious there. But that's how I see it for predictions. 11:20 Central Standard Time. Once again, good morning to everyone in the chat room. Charles, hopefully I didn't take up too much time.
Oh, no.
That was just my prediction.
Oh, no, your predictions were right there. We're about the same. Let me start with the East. All right, so I'm kind of with you on the bottom. Let's start at the bottom. Valley, Bethune-Cookman. I'm going to say that Valley, I have them picked to finish 6th. I was kind of tussling with that, but I think Valley's got a lot more to build on. I think Bethune-Cookman, despite what happened with them last year, I think they've got a little bit more to build on than Valley. So I'm going to have Valley. I have Valley picked to finish 6th. Bethune-Cookman picked to finish 5th. So I have Alabama A&M picked to finish 4th. I think even though they've done some solid recruiting, got a lot on the defensive side of the ball, I think a lot of people are still spoiled with Aqeel Glass and that high-powered offense. I think that's no more. I think there's some work to do on the offensive side of the ball. I don't think they're quite there yet. There may be another year or 2 away. I was very impressed with Alabama State. I mean, they had 2 impressive wins in MEAC SWAC, and they were down 13-0 at Texas Southern, and they came back and won that game. And I was talking with Dr. Cable, their AD, about it at Media Day. That's a team on the ascend. First-year head coach Eddie Robinson Jr. Are they amongst the elite? No, but I think they're right there in the cut on the ascend. So I have Bama State picked to finish 3rd. Now, who's number 2? FAMU or Jackson State? TC Taylor, and I just read a post a little while ago how there's no coach in the conference and roughing the SWAC group somewhere in one of those groups that said there's no coach that's under more pressure than TC Taylor. Why would you say that?
I don't necessarily agree with that one.
I don't agree with it either. I mean, yes, he took over for Coach Sanders. Coach Sanders announced him as the head football coach. But the last count that I saw, over 50 transferred. You take over a program in that situation, and yet you build it as best as you could. Shiloh's gone. Shadur's gone. A lot of those skilled players are gone. It's going to take a little time. So I don't think there should be pressure, but who knows? I don't think there is, but that's just me. So with all that being lost, I have Jackson State still picked to finish second. FAMU, talk with Coach Simmons. He loves flaming hot sunflower seeds. For those who don't know, I gave him 2 bags at media day. I mean, for all the talk of what they've gone through with Moose at quarterback, I think that they will supersede Jackson State and win the East. Now, you talk about pressure. There's pressure. New AD and AD Sykes. You see the changes she's already making. The Orange Blossom Classic is no more. And by the way, for those who might not know, Alcorn has a contract in hand with the Orange Blossom to play in it in 2024. We haven't made a decision as of yet. I talked with our AD about it at media day. They're crunching the numbers, so it's a possibility that Alcorn might be in the game next year, but not definite. But
with Jackson State, correct?
Huh?
With Jackson State, and
I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, because FAMU is not participating, so I think it is Jackson State. No, what? Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Well, we'll see about that because, of course, our game with Jackson would be our home game in 2024. So we'll see about that. But we have a contract to play in the Orange Blossom in 2024. Got to crunch the numbers and see how that works. So that's my prediction for the East. FAMU, Jackson State, Bama State, Alabama A&M, Bethune, and Valley. Now in the West, starting at number 6. I talked with Coach Hampton at media day. I love his enthusiasm. I love his passion. He was there as a grad student. He kind of reminded me of a coach that we had in Ernest Jones. Remember Ernest Jones, Carlos? Ernest Jones, who was an assistant under Brian Kelly at Cincinnati. The fire, the brimstone, the passion, not quite, way out there like Ernest Jones was, but you love his passion. I retweeted a video on social media yesterday after his first practice. He was not happy. He said, "Hey guys, we're picked to finish last, and you know what? I love it. But we're gonna improve every day. And if you're not gonna be a part of this thing, and players were on a knee on the field, if you're not a part of this thing, you can go now. But we are gonna get better every day. You can either be a part of it or not." So I like his motor. I like his enthusiasm. They got big home games. You got Jackson, Alcorn on their homecoming. They've got a great home schedule. So they can cause a little stir, but I don't think it's quite there yet. So I have them picked to finish 6th. Picked to finish 5th is Grambling, my alma mater. Hugh Jackson looked good at media day. Calvez is probably going to be their quarterback, signing NIL. Cedric Thornton, defensive on the defensive side of the ball. What I saw from Grambling last year, too many mistakes, too many turnovers. The Bayou Classic proved it. The State Fair Classic proved it. They've got to continue to get better on offense. So I have Grambling finishing 4th. Then I was grappling between Texas Southern and Prairie View for the number 3. Texas Southern, and I don't know if you knew this, Carlos, there was a weekend last year in which 4 teams had a crack at the West. In one weekend, Southern, Prairie View, Alcorn, Texas Southern. All right, on one weekend. Texas Southern was in the mix because of the wins they had in the West. Prairie View, you talked about them. The last 2 years, Prairie View has stumbled down the stretch. They've lost the Valley 2 years in a row. Last year, they lost to Alcorn on a Friday night. They lost the SWAC championship game. They have faded down the stretch the last 2 years, and Coach McDowell talked about that. They got to get better down the stretch. They start fast, but they can't finish. And I think this year is going to be the same case. I am really a buyer of Texas Southern. Andrew Body, I have Texas Southern finishing number 2, by the way. Texas Southern is a team that had a taste of a little division fever. They won some big games last year in the division. Andrew Body is ascending. talked with Coach McKinney at Media Day, and he talked about Andrew Body. He says Andrew Body has to go from being the man to being a man. And what that means is that he felt like the first 2 years he was the man, putting them on their shoulders. And we saw the turnovers and mistakes he made the first couple of years. Very much improved. And I think he will take that team to the next level. Then you got Everett Todd, the defensive coordinator from Grambling at Texas Southern. That defense will be much improved. We go to Texas Southern this year. I'm a believer in Texas Southern. Third-year quarterbacks, John Gibbs, Aquil Glass, 4-year starters, 3-year starters. You don't see it in the league that often. And I think, clearly Andrew Body is on the ascent. So I'm a believer in Texas Southern. I think they will finish second. And of course, there is pressure. And Coach McNair talked about it. We talked about it. We talk about it often. There is pressure at Alcorn. There's pressure. 2 bad years, two subpar years in a row. You've got interim administration. Those dynamics, you cannot overlook that. Not saying something's going to happen, but it's just the brutal reality that we are living in athletics and winning and losing and championship programs. It's just the reality that we're in. Not saying something's going to happen, but Coach McNair knows he's got to get it. He's got to be much improved this year. But I'm a believer in Fred McNair. In McNair, we trust. You've got Tyler Macon at quarterback. We talked with Jarvion Howard at Media Day. He was ready to get back on campus, on Tuesday. He wanted to get back in the lab. Yes, he was gracious to the media. He was gracious to everybody. But he was ready to get back on campus and get back to work. And he had 250 carries last year, way too many. We got Nico Duffy and Leatherwood in the backfield. Got to get good quarterback play from Macon. Aaron Allen is back. The defense was really good at the end of the year. Cedric Thomas, I'm a believer in him. And second go around as DC at Alcorn. I think the Braves will get over the hump. Got big games at home. Grambling on homecoming. Southern comes to town. The first few weeks going to be tough. USM, Stephen F., McNeese. But I do think that we will figure it out. I do think we'll find a way to win those big home games. I think we'll get on track. And I look for the Braves to win the Western Division. Okay,
well, I understand. Maybe I missed it. Where was Southern in your predictions?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm
sorry. Wait a minute. Cut his camera off.
I skipped it. I did. Southern number 2. I have Southern number 2. I think Coach Dooley, offensively, we know what he can do. I apologize to the Jaguar Nation. Yes, I have Southern finishing number 2. The question again, the quarterback position. How will that look? It seems to be Harold Blood's the leader in the clubhouse right now in that position. And I think defensively, I think Southern will get after it. Towards the end of the year, the Bayou Classic, they were really good, getting better on that side of the ball. If Blood's the quarterback, I'd ride with him. You open up with Bama State. You got Jackson, right after that. So I do have Southern picked to finish second. I think they are, in my opinion, the second best team in the league with all the pieces coming back. So, yes, I have Southern picked second. The Braves picked to finish first with Texas Southern, Prairie View, Grambling, and UAPB. I apologize to the Jaguar Nation out there.
No. That's fine because, once again, all of this is, most of the time you feel good about these predictions. Some people are disappointed. But at the end of the day, what did we say earlier? It's going to be one on the football field. And now we see the official SWAC preseason poll up. Of course, you can see it. FAMU picked to come out of the East. We had a question, how did Mississippi Valley State get 2 first-place votes? You know what? It's like a Rubik's Cube. You remember that Rubik's Cube? All I know, coaches and SIDs, making predictions.
Yeah.
I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time talking about what it is. It's just, well, I got to be careful. I don't want to say the wrong thing, but my goodness, that is just not smart. That's just not smart at all.
Well, I will say this. I did talk to the commissioner about that at Media Day. And by the way, we've said this before, for those who might not know who votes, the voters are the head coaches, and it doesn't matter what sport, the head coaches and the sports information directors at the schools. Mm-hmm. Can that change? Yes. But it has to start with the head coaches. They have to collectively get together and vote to add media members, whether it's the Baton Rouge Advocate or the Clarion Ledger or radio guys. They have to vote to do that. And then once it's voted on, it's going to go to the commissioner fairly quickly, and the commissioner will approve it. It won't go to the president. It's not that high level of in the atmosphere to where it goes that high up. If the coaches vote yes to add more people to vote, then it will happen. But the coaches have to make that decision. They have to get together and they have to collectively decide this is what they want to do. And from what I've been told, there's no oxygen in the room to do that at this time. You've had turnovers in SIDs. You've got new football coaches. Maybe that'll change. That has to be done. We have to kind of politic and lobby our own coach, Fred McNair, Eric Dooley, whatever the case with TC Taylor. We have to talk with those coaches individually and kind of start a petition to make that happen to get to a vote. But as of right now, I don't see it happening really for any sport at all.
You see my frustration, folks. I'm not going to hold my breath. You know, I'm tired of politicking, you know, and people are supposed to be objective, but they're not. Like somebody in the chat room say, let me guess, Avis, God bless you, my brother from the state of Mississippi. Let me guess, Carlos picked Southern number 1. Yes, I did. I don't have to explain it at all. That's just the way I feel about it. Franklin says Mississippi schools are going to be hard to beat this year. So if you're in Louisiana, you're in Mississippi, you're in Alabama, you will tend to favor your respective schools. I don't have a problem with that because, again, Charles, what will happen? All of this doesn't mean anything per se, but it will be what played on the field.
It's great conversation. It really is good conversation, and it's great back and forth and the passion. You can tell the passion by our fans in the chat room and on social media when these polls come out in all sports, basketball, it doesn't matter. We all love to talk about it. We have our favorite schools, and we're ticked off when our schools are picked to finish last. We love it when our schools pick to finish first. But as you said, and it's obvious, you know, us talking about it's not going to make it happen. You know, it's got to get done on the field. Coaches got to make it happen. So it's just great fodder, great information to talk about. And we can dissect it all day long. And, you know, we can add stuff to it, and it's fine. I love it. I love the banter, and it shows you that fans are passionate, they're interested, and they're in it. And that's what it's all about to me.
On that note, 11:34 Central Standard Time, our first guest is been patiently waiting. He is the defensive line coach at Southern University. He's a former football player for Southern University, and he just happens to be my favorite in modern times defensive tackle because we can see eye to eye, but this guy is a native of Houston, Texas. He just exemplified everything that I think you should have: passion, technique when he played. And a quick little story. Doug Williams told me when he was head coach at Grambling, could not block him. Could not block this guy. And he also said if he was 6'1", 6'2", he was every bit as good as Booger McFarland. Damarcus Miller. Now, Coach Miller joins us after this timeout. So let me quit talking, get to the break, and then we'll visit with Coach Damarcus Boo Boo Miller. You're watching the Carlos Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network.
Itchy, squirmy, scratchy, family not getting clean? Get Charmin Ultra Strong.
Go get 'em.
It just cleans better. With a diamond weave texture, your family can use less while still getting clean.
Goodbye, itchy squirm.
Hello, clean bottom.
We all go. Why not enjoy the go with Charmin?
At Hampton Law, our primary goal is to provide non-traditional yet effective solutions and redefine the approach to client legal concerns. As your trusted legal advisor, we believe in sophisticated, personalized services that eliminate the confusion and complexity sometimes associated with legal matters. Our high standard for client care and concern, coupled with our extensive legal knowledge and skills, make Hampton Law a resource focused on the protection of the client's interest and overall goals. We value our clients and truly enjoy working with them. Visit thamptonlaw.com to conveniently schedule an appointment online. Tamika Hampton Esquire, 1631 Rock Springs Road, Suite 336, Apopka, Florida, 407-494-1471. thamptonlaw.com.
Nope. Nope.
Come on, him?
Ooh, I like him.
Quick, the quicker picker-upper. Bounty picks up messes quicker, and each sheet is 2 times more absorbent, so you can use less.
He's an 8.
He's a 9.
Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
From novice to aficionado, find yourself here. High quality cigars plus personal customer service. Slow Burn is Waco's only mobile cigar lounge, featuring a meticulous, curated collection of premium cigars. Visit our website, www.slowburnwaco.com. That's www.slowburnwaco.com.
Stride K-12 powered schools are ready to put over 20 years of being a leader in online education to work for you. Dive into curriculum designed for the online classroom. Team up with state-certified teachers trained in virtual instruction. Take control of your child's education journey. Discover the power of personalized learning with a leader experienced in preparing kids for a future they can be excited about. Take charge. Stride K-12. Enroll now for the fall.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Carlos Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network. Charles, we were quickly talking about the passion in the fans and during the break, check it out in the chat room. It just seems like all in water. Jackson State and Southern fans, they go at it, and it's tough. So Jeremiah asks, who was the next quarterback that I'm going to interview at Southern University, all 37? Jeremiah's being a smarty pants there. Put it this way. The quarterback room is important, like all positions, that room to develop and have the numbers, because, injury is going to happen. Players don't get it done, maybe, have a little downtime. It's better to have the potential to have your room important. With that being said, we still appreciate everybody. Jackson State, Alcorn, FAMU fans, everybody in the chat room. Keep it up. Going to introduce our first guest, special guest, Coach Damarcus Miller. He's a defensive line coach at Southern University, played at Southern University, now going into year 2 at Southern University as defensive line coach. And boy, I thought I lost some weight, a little bit of weight, but Coach Miller looked outstanding. Coach Miller, good morning to you.
Good morning, Carlos. Charles, how you guys doing?
Good morning.
Oh, I just love Coach Miller, my favorite player.
My God, Carlos.
Yes, sir. Defensive line coach now, and we're going to have a conversation here, and it's going to be important because I'm going to start off asking you, of course, played at Southern University, a player, and now a coach on the collegiate level going to year 2. Talk about that. How has that been for you?
Man, it's always great. Homecomings are always great. And this is a homecoming where you can stay for a while, at least as long as you're winning. You know how that works around here.
Right, right.
But the fact, actually, this is my second go round. I started my college coaching as a GA here back in 2000. Once I finished playing, stayed a couple years up until 2003. We won that national championship, and moved on. Went to the high school route. Life caught up with me. Got married, had kids, and was comfortable down there at the high school level. And then got the phone call to come back home, and I couldn't pass that itch up. And I'm here to make it happen, and here to be a part of that change and bring that tradition back that we had, and I'm excited for the opportunity.
It seems like, and you tell me if I'm wrong. And by the way, how could I forget you being a grad assistant, during that time? But the growth, I know it's one thing to play at 18, 19 to 23, and then making the transition to the coaching. How does that appeal to you as far as the growth in you personally from playing days to now coaching?
Well, it forces you to see the game completely different. Now, I was fortunate as a player. I would have been considered one of those students of the game. So I always knew eventually when this was over, I was going to get into coaching because I had a different mindset. I wanted to know what the coaches knew at that time. I was trying to figure out defensive coordinators, not necessarily the offensive line that I was blocking. What is he trying to do? How is he trying to block me? So it was an easy transition for me into the coaching game. So that's the type of mindset I try to instill in my current players. Understand your role, understand what you're supposed to do, but think bigger than that. Study that coordinator, see how he tries to call plays, what's his tendencies. And if you start picking up on his tendencies, we'll take care of the line. That'll take care of itself. Be a student of the game. Those are the ones that succeed. Those are the ones that play faster. Those are the ones that dominate. And that's all I preach. My goal, my mission here at Southern University is to develop disciplined, dominant, disruptive defensive linemen. And the only way you can do that is to be a student of the game.
We're visiting with Coach Damarcus Miller, as you see on the screen, Boo Boo. Everybody, that's an affectionate nickname in between the first and the last. So year one at Southern University has passed as a defensive line coach. Talk about that year and then transition to now. Fall camp is about to start. Looking at the defensive line room from year one to year two, what jumps out at you?
Well, we had a solid group. You're talking about Jason Dumas. He was, all SWAC player in his time. You had we had Big 94. He was actually a Southern. He was there before we got there, and so these were guys. Cameron Peterson. I said 94. He represents a well-established number in Southern University history. So
that's your number.
I had to bring that out. He represented it well, but Cameron Peterson and these guys, they set the tone and they started the foundation that was needed. But as our motto moving forward was, we were good last year. We did some good things. However, we weren't good enough. Obviously, we didn't win the championship. So our mission this year is to go from good to great. And so I think, you had Kelby Givens. He had some experience. So he played as a true freshman. So he's going to come back with some experience. We've went out and we've gotten some guys. We got Taj Brown. That was an all-SWAC player for us last year coming back. And then we added some pieces to go along with those guys. So our mission is to go from good to great. And that's all we're speaking about. And in order for us to go be good to great, we're going to have to be a disciplined, sound, fundamental, sound football team that has a mindset of dominance every day.
Charles?
Well, I want to piggyback off your nickname. I know of you, but I've heard your nickname. How did you get the nickname?
Well, it started back with, if you think about it, actually, he's here with us on the coaching staff as well. My college roommate was Damon Nivens. David was an All-American NFL offensive lineman that played here at Southern. And you got to realize Damon stands about 6'6", 350 pounds. And I stand a whole 5'9". And so everywhere you saw Damon, you saw myself. And so it was a running joke. Well, there go Yogi and Boo Boo.
Okay.
Can't get rid of Yogi and Boo Boo. The Yogi went away from Damon, and I've been Boo Boo since 1996. So
okay,
it's stuck. It works well. I love it.
Well, just talk about your defense. I mean, we all know offensively, working in another quarterback perhaps and just trying to get things going. But your defense last year, the Alcorn game, of course, I was there. I saw the Bayou Classic. You created turnovers and havoc kind of pull away there. What's when you look at the D line, what's the biggest improvement that you like to see from being good to being great? What's the key there?
I think the biggest improvement is strength and speed. We picked up some guys that come off the rock, and anybody understands up in those trenches. If you can come off that rock, and you can get engaged and disengaged quickly, you're going to be disruptive. And like I say, that's a lot of it. We want to be disruptive and dominant. And what I mean by that is when you're dominant, that means we're creating a new line of scrimmage. We're playing in the backfield. When we're disruptive, that means we're getting off those blocks. We're in that quarterback face, and we're causing all kind of pressure. And so we have guys from the first team to the second team that can do that on a consistent basis, and that's the key. I heard you talk earlier about the quarterback room. The most important room is that defensive line room because, hey, I tell you, the offense have a million plays in their playbook, and I tell my guys, penetration destroys every last one of those plays. So I don't care what it's called. If we're in their face and we're in their backfield, they call whatever they want to call. So that's our mindset. And we have a group that's working hard. And, my challenge to them is create value for yourself every day. How are you creating value on and off the field? And if your goal is to be next level, you have to have a next level mindset. I mean, everything that you're doing leading up to that game is on the next level. So don't tell me that you want next level if I don't see your actions showing me next level work.
We're visiting with Coach Damarcus Boo Boo Miller, and we got a great definition of how you got that middle name, that nickname. I'm just gonna, and I know you don't want to just single out players because it's a team, right? But okay, I'll put it this way: we've been interviewing some student athletes from the defensive line. Rasheed Lyles, quiet, but man. My sources have told me, that's that dirty word, Coach Miller. The sources have said he has had a tremendous impact. And when he came on the show, he said, I'm not a rah-rah type of guy. I'll just try to lead by example in a quiet storm. So to piggyback on what you said, you've added some pieces. We've interviewed on this show Christian Zachary, Kelby Givens, just some of those players. So again, talk about those added pieces. They had to buy in to the philosophy that you guys had established in year one. Talk about those players, buying in.
Well, like I said, we brought in, I think maybe 4 or 5 guys, and
I'm missing some.
I must say, out of the guys we brought in, Rasheed Lyles has definitely been that standout. His get off reminds me of another Southern University lineman that came off that rock. Explosive, low center of gravity, violent. That's what you see when you see Rasheed get off that rock. And like you say, he is a quiet assassin. That's what I called him. And he loves football. That's what I love about Rasheed. During the recruiting process, he didn't really want to talk about, he didn't want to see this, he didn't want to see that. Coach, show me some game film. Show me how I'm going to be used in this scheme. And so we spent more time in my office watching film than we did touring the campus. And so I love that about him. And he brought that. And every time I called him to check on him, Coach, I'm just coming back from the workout. Or, Coach, I'm on my way to go work out. I'm like, man, how many times a day do you work out? He's like, Coach, I got to get it. And so, you hear guys say that, and then, because that's the right thing to say. But then but when you see that work ethic and you see that stuff live, you can't do nothing but respect the guy. So my only challenge to him is to open up his mouth some. Talk. Because he's that leader by example. I need him to be that verbal leader because those guys are going to respect him and listen to him because of the things that he's doing. But far as athletic wise, he was a great pickup for us. I think he's going to do some special things for us.
Yeah. And that's interesting, Charles, because when I'm kind of looking back at some of the defensive statistics, Southern in a lot of categories defensive were top three and better. And so to hear Coach Miller talk about, we did good, but we need to transcend to that next level. I think that's outstanding. And when those guys up front are being disruptive, it helps the linebackers and the back end of the defense. Charles, looked like you had another question there.
Yeah, I did. You were just talking about the work ethic, and I don't know, and I've noticed this with our guy Jarvion Howard at Media Day. He was very gracious at Media Day, but he said he was ready to get back on campus and get back in the lab. I've heard that about a number of other players and we just follow them on social media, how they're really committed to the craft, living in the locker room, living on the field, and trying to stay in shape in the training room. Are you seeing all the years you've been around this conference and this game? Maybe it's just me, maybe I'm wrong, but is it safe to say that you're seeing more players more dedicated to the craft and instead of just, and you talked about how, your guy was recruited, didn't want to see the campus, just wanted to see how it was being utilized. Is it me, or are you seeing more and more football players with that kind of mindset, just want to get on the field, just want to make an impact at whatever team they're visiting?
Absolutely. They realize the game is going to another level, and they understand, guys, there's limited space if you're talking to the next level. And so you have to do the things that separate yourself from everyone else. And so they realize just the regular time that they spend with us or as a strength coach is not enough. And so those guys are, as you see, going back in that lab, getting that extra workout. I'm always preaching, what's your extra? Coach Wallace, he tells me, what's your cash out? Those guys are always doing some extra workouts, extra lift, extra push-ups after practice, because that's what's required. The bare minimum is not going to get you to the next level. You got to realize everybody's trying to get there. And if you're doing what everybody else is doing, how do you stand out? And I think, especially one of our guys that I'm so proud of is Kelby Givens.
Yeah.
I'm a guy that came in as a true freshman last year. And if you look at this young man's workout, it's impeccable. I mean, you look at his body, when a guy's working when their body is completely changed. He has what I call a little grown man body right now. He has improved from year one to year two. And the only way that your body can change like that is work ethic. He's out there running with linebackers. He's beating the linebackers in the drill as a defensive lineman. And so when you see guys, especially young guys like that, put in that work, if you're around and if you're an older guy or a younger guy coming up under him, if you're not stepping your game up, if you're not trying to work out on that level, you might as well quit, because you're never going to catch up with him, because Kelby Givens is never going to slow down.
And to your point, Coach Miller, we had him on last week, and he talked about his, growing relationship with Rasheed Lyles, and that camaraderie, and with other players on the team. So speaking of that, Coach Miller, we kind of talked about the team and bonding and working together. But now on the staff perspective, defensive line coach going against the O-line coach, linebacker coach, talk about your guys' relationships and how competitive that is, at least on the field. Then I'll follow up with off the field, bonding and stuff. Because I saw on social media, I don't know whose house it was, but I think if you ask me, I would say it was Coach Dooley's house. But bonding, swimming, and having a great time. And I'm trying to find out who was playing ping pong with Harold Blood. I couldn't tell who it was. But anyway, talk about that bonding between the staff and the competition on the field, and then bonding outside of the athletic field.
When you talk about a staff, you're talking about an amazing staff. So let's talk about the competitive nature. I've never been around a group of more competitive guys, because you're talking about a staff of champions, guys that played at the high level. So you're talking about a different mindset. So for instance, the offensive line versus the defensive line. I realized the offensive line coach was my college roommate.
Right.
And I went up against practice every day. So you're talking over almost a 30-year relationship. And we had those wars back then, and it doesn't stop here. You know, he's a talker, high energy talker guy, and you know I am. And we get our guys fired up and we compete. And the guys see the fact that, hey, these coaches are going at it. They're competing like they're about to line down and play. Gotta step my game up. You know, my coach is telling, if my coach is telling the line coach to line down with them bad knees, come on now, I gotta pick it up. I mean, but think about it. You have myself, who played here at a high level. You had Sean Wallace, the defensive back coach, who played here at a real high level.
Oh, yeah.
Added Coach Scott, Chris Scott, as the DN's coach, who is one of the greatest ones that ever played here. You know, we can go ahead and godfather Coach Graves in and Coach Miller, because they've been here so long. So you're talking Southern legends that has played at high levels, and you can't help what they say. Your players should be a reflection of their coach. And so if that's the reality, you see why you saw a version of the Dog Day D last year. And we were good, but we weren't great. And we weren't good enough. And that wasn't good to our standards. And so we bring that competitive name. I mean, think about our head coach. He's the most trash-talking head coach I've ever been around in my life. He still think he can play, you know. He go run.
He looks in great shape, though.
Hey, he's the only guy I know who runs the 40-yard dash every year on his birthday. And
wow.
So he say he ran a 4.6 this year, you know, on his birthday, like a couple weeks ago. That's what he say, you know. But the guy is full of energy. He's competitive, and that energy, you know, fades down to the rest of the staff. It fades down to the rest of the team. And when you got guys that's willing to compete at a high level at a daily basis, you can't help but move from good to great.
Yeah.
Now, talking about the gathering, you know, at Coach Dooley's house, you know, he think about it. You got 100+ guys at a swimming pool. Also, you know, they was catered by Boo Boo's Barbecue. I just want to throw that in there.
There you go. There you go.
It was but you know, it's beautiful, man, to see the guys getting along. You know, they've worked their butt all summer together on that field, out there on that track. You know, this was a great way to reward those guys and let them come together and have a great time. And it was a beautiful atmosphere out there. I tell you, that's what you got to have. You got to have a family. You got to have that family bond. So now, when you go through those hard times during the season, you can fall back on that work you put in the off season. And that's what pushed you guys through. And that's how we did it. When we were dominant here, when we played, we were one big family. You know, our motto on the defensive line, we're 4 heads, 8 legs, 1 heartbeat. We're all together. If we're all on the same page, they can't beat us.
Well, that's good stuff. That good information then to put out. So now, Coach, you're very close. I guess what next week? Fall camp, end of next week. What would be some of the team goals that you would like to see coming out of fall camp? And then could you maybe not give us a name, but talk about an individual who will maybe surprise some people, and what will be his characteristics that will surprise the Jaguar Nation when they see them?
I guess every team goal, first of all, is to come out healthy. You know, make sure you come out of camp, no major injuries, and so we're good to go. My goal is this: hey, we have a scheme that's, I won't say it's simple, but it's enough where we learn it, we play at a high level, we play fast, and we can get them. So we're not worried about the academic part of what we're trying to do. It's about coming together. You know, team discipline. You know, the little things. That's what's gonna set us apart. You know, the little things, playing together and having a dominant mindset. That's my goal. I want everyone on that defensive line to have a dominant mindset. If we have that dominant mindset and then our actions follow that mindset on a day-to-day basis, you know, we're one day at a time, one game at a time, but every day with that same dominant mindset, find something in your game that you can get better at never satisfied, always hungry. If we come out with that mindset in camp, we're going to be all right.
Coach Miller, breaking news here. It's a fun thing. First of all, I was asked to ask you, can you talk about Andy Boykins, Arkansas transfer? I had him on the show when he first came in. Just an update on Andy Boykins here at Southern University, defensive line.
Well, Andy's been here working all summer.
Mm-hmm.
He's handling his academic part, and he's taking care of his athletic part well, and he's getting bigger, and he's finally getting in shape. And he's a big fella. You're talking about 6'4", 3 with a question mark on it at the very end of it. But he's maturing. I thought he was a big baby. He was a big baby, big old freshman. But he's starting to mature. He's starting to understand what's necessary to be effective on this level. And so I'm proud of him. But he has a lot of work to go. He's not where I need him to be. He's not as dominant that I want him to be. And so he's going to have to put in the action and do the work to get there. I'm a hard one to please. But I like where he's going, but he's got a long ways to go to be where I want to pat him on the back.
A work in progress. And in the chat room, boy, I love him in a certain way. Someone says, ask about Cotton. Thanks, VW. Cotton, update on him.
Cotton has been doing well. We expect Cotton to be in camp. I expect Cotton to contribute well for us. I like his mindset, his experience. I think he's going to be a good one for us.
Jackson State and Southern fans going at it. When you played, it was the same thing. 40 plus years. A quick moment playing at Veterans Memorial set it up for us. And you know what? Those guys always did trash talk and try to intimidate. I can tell you a story about how they tried to intimidate Coach Richardson, but Coach Richardson wasn't having it. But it's a great rivalry, and it's very intense. It's different than Grambling State. Southern and Jackson just honestly in a healthy way, they dislike each other. But anyway, a moment.
Right. I tell you, that has to be one of my greatest experience as a player. I remember it had to be 1997, walking out on that field pregame. Mm-hmm. And I promise you, it had to be at least 50,000 in there pregame, screaming and hollering. We're going through our warm-ups, and Coach Smith was the offensive line coach at the time, and I remember him blowing the whistle as loud as he could, and we couldn't even hear the whistle to change the exercise drills during warm-up. And I'm like, man, this is college football. The fans were going crazy. We were going crazy. And I know a lot of people may not hear that. To me, those games sometimes are bigger than the Bayou Classic. I know the Bayou Classic gets the notoriety and all that, but if you're just talking about fan versus fan, school versus school, just whoo, that kind of atmosphere. Definitely get those kind of atmosphere against Jackson.
It sounds like it gives you chills 20-something years later. It sounds like it gives you chills.
That moment, and I've played in games with more people than that since then. Mm-hmm. But the energy in that game, it was just unmatched.
Oh yeah, I mean the stories you can tell from the bands have to be separated. The PA announcer, trying to chastise the Southern fans, being quiet, and
right.
It's just outstanding. My first time going to a game in Veterans Memorial in Jackson, 1993, and I was like, man, it must be something's on fire. Look at all the smoke, but it was from the grills. You appreciate that, Coach Miller. And just coming down by the hospital, I mean, just a crowd, and you had to park maybe because I didn't get a parking pass. Like 5 or 6 blocks away, but the franchise was in better shape back then. not bad now. But again, the atmosphere was just great, and I look forward to it. No matter when it's in A.W. Mumford Stadium, which the Pete Richardson Classic, the first home game, it's going to be outstanding. Coach Miller, any closing comments you have to the Jaguar Nation and the audience? The floor is yours.
Well, Jaguar Nation, you know what time it is. It's that time of the year. Hey, come on out. Well, we know you're going to come out and support, because that's what you do. Tailgates, if I pass by, let me get a chicken wing or but realistically, get out there, support those guys. And also support the university. I understand good, buy your tickets, come to the game, but there's more needed. And support the university. We have alumni that want to give back, quit holding back, give back. Hey, remember, it takes a village to raise a child, what they say, but it takes the whole alumni to raise a university.
Right.
And we're trying to take it to that next level. And if we're going to take it to that next level, we want to be that elite. We want to be that school or that team of the decade that we once were. It's going to take all of us.
Right.
Let's together, let's make this happen and go Jazz.
Yeah, and the locker room project, we hadn't forgot about that. Desperately need everyone's help from the top to the bottom, from the bottom to the top. Quickly, Coach Miller, promote that barbecue because, man, I'm hungry now. Once you said it, by the way, I'm down like 55 pounds overall. I won't give you my high weight. And
we have little side dishes that won't put too much on the hips. You
can splurge once in a while there, Coach. Don't be too tough.
You already know, but it is Boo Boo's barbecue. Our motto is get some in your lips. Once you get in your lips, you're stuck, you're hooked. Obviously right now, we don't have much time. Coach Dooley's gonna take all my time, but we'll find some time to cater for you if you need those services. But you can't beat it. Once you get it in your lips, you're hooked, baby.
Charles, I haven't tasted it yet, but just looking at it, it's just like I've eaten some. I'm just getting a nice rise from that. So I know when I taste them on my lips, hey, I'm probably going to be in another atmosphere.
Oh, you better get some in your lips quick, Carlos.
I have your contact number.
Yes,
I'll be contacting. It's been a pleasure having you on, Coach Miller. Best of success to you, the staff, the team, and the players this upcoming year. And as always, as you can see, there's my classmate, Janice. Go Jags.
Go Jags. Appreciate you, Carlos. Charles, take care.
Appreciate it.
See you guys later on.
All right. Take care. We had somebody in the chat room. Wow. He's gone now, but maybe he'll text me. He said Chris Scott. And if this is a Chris Scott, I think, I'm wondering if it's the Chris Scott that went to the same high school, played linebacker with Rufus Porter. And Southern alums, about Rufus Porter, went on to the NFL. But Chris Scott, I think, if I'm not mistaken, the leading tackle. Yeah, that's him. Okay, the graduated with me. Well, he graduated 2 years behind me, Capital Senior High School, 84. That was a hellacious tackle, Charles. Oh, him and Rufus. I think Chris Scott is the leading tackle in the history of Southern University, if I'm not mistaken. But someone will correct me if I'm not accurate on that. But Coach Miller, your thoughts? Charles, are you there?
Oh! You said Coach Miller.
Yeah, I said your thoughts on Coach Miller.
Oh man, excellent. I mean, obviously he is. Obviously he's very excited about his defensive line, and I thought Southern's D line got after it last year, and against us, just ball hawks, just getting after it. And if they're better than they were last year, and I think the one thing I wanted to talk to him about too, and I think we've talked about it. I think breaking in all these new quarterbacks. The defensive side of the ball is really going to have to stand out, I think, early in the season. You got, Alcorn, USM, McNeese, Stephen F. Southern's got Bama State, Jackson State right off the bat. You've got Texas Southern with a new DC playing Prairie View at home early on. I think defensively, I think you're going to see a lot of good stuff on the defensive side of the ball early on, especially with teams that are trying to break in new quarterbacks. As Jamie Walker said a year ago, and it still rings in my ears today, the continuity on the offensive side going to take a little time, but that means defensively, you got to get off the field. You got to flip the field at times. And I think if you see that early on, I think those are the teams that'll have some success.
Well, and the old cliche, the most time that you improve is from week 1 to week 2. One thing, our colleague here at Black College Sports Network, I got a chance to listen to and watch a little bit of the SWAC Football Media Day, Dr. Kenyatta Cavill. He brought up an interesting point, and all of them did. But he said Southern does have a favorable schedule.
Yes.
At home. Now, sometimes there's pressure at playing at home, but you got to block out all of the noise, all of the rah-rah, and get it done. So we continuously say by the first week in October, it's gonna tell a story. For some teams, they may be a better team, but their record may not indicate that, especially if you're playing up, if you're playing a tough FCS opponent, and such as Alcorn. Texas Southern, to me, they just got to show me. We know who Andrew Body is. They can brag. They defeated Southern 2 years in a row. They come to A.W. Mumford Stadium. Prairie View and them faded down the stretch. Reminds me of Southern basketball. They were in first place in January. Then in February, they're not in first place. So every team has strengths. Every team has weaknesses. Every team has something to prove. Quickly, we got to get to a timeout.
Okay.
No,
Well, no, I was going to say, I mean, I'll add another dimension to it. We talked about breaking in the quarterbacks. We talked about the defensive side of the ball. But if you look at these home schedules, Carlos, I mean, UAPB's got Southern at home, Alcorn at home, Jackson at home, Grambling at home. Very attractive home schedule. The Jaguars, Jackson at home, FAMU, Alabama A&M, Texas Southern, Prairie View at home. If you get the continuity going, and if you're on a roll in a rhythm, and you've got that type of home schedule, yes, there's pressure to play at home, but when you're playing well, that feeds into it. And I think those teams that can get it done at home, especially in the early part of the season, I think will have continued success as well.
I'm going to be cliches here. You can't look too far ahead. What do? Coach Dooley said it, and other coaches. You go 1-0. Week 1, go 1-0. Week 2, your goal is to go 1-0. Consistency. Be consistent. You're not that damn good that you can overlook anybody. Every week is a major challenge, and you have to win the week. And then 2, going into fall camp. Most people have an idea who's going to be the starters, but I always look at who's going to win the number 2 positions throughout the team, because sometimes you're 1 or 2 injuries away.
Ask the Cincinnati Bengals.
That the second unit, a position player has to step up, and some can do it, some can't right away. Consistency. And also, what team, if they are faced with adversity, can they overcome it and be tough and be mentally tough and disciplined to say, hey, we hit a hiccup in the road. Don't listen to the fans because, hey, they'll get on you after a bad play. And especially in the quarterback position. I've sat in the stands before. You have to be tough mentally.
Yeah.
And you have to be careful because you don't know who you're sitting next to. It could be the quarterback's parent, father, mom. One time I saw an aunt, literally, they had to hold her back. They had to get secured up there. This was an aunt. She didn't like what we're saying. She basically told the person in the crowd, you're not a coach, shut the blank up. And it was on. I hid behind a lady because I didn't want to get hit.
Get out of the way.
Yeah. On that note, that's perfect time to take a timeout. When we come back, Coach Pettaway joins us. We're going to switch gears a little bit. Then a little bit later, we're going to add Wheeler Brown. With Coach Pettaway, I want to get his thoughts on FAMU. On paper, women, that's an excellent hire. Bridget Garden, Coach Garden. And then there all have been speculations between Ashley Robinson leaving Jackson State. Reports put out there going to Prairie View. Now Jackson State comes back with a sweeter deal. We'll get Wheeler Brown's perspective on all of this. You're watching the Carlos Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network.
If you think all pads are exactly the same, think again. This is Always Ultra Thins reinvented with the Always Triple Protection System. This pad wicks gushes 90% faster, absorbs even more so you can feel dry, and locks odors in. Rethink your pad for up to 100% leak-free and odor-free comfort with the totally reinvented Always Ultra Thins. This is always like never before.
The Cuvée Group is a Florida-based marketing and training consulting firm. We help businesses communicate to their target audience and engage them in conversation. We also help to expand their audiences, which will ultimately result in growth for those organizations. In addition to being a certified constant contact specialist, my colleagues and I are also certified in John Maxwell Leadership Principles. We use these proven principles to conduct workshops, training, and private coaching sessions for individuals and companies looking to take things to the next level. Contact us to schedule a free consultation. Issues today, don't delay, call Cuvée.
Looking for the latest information on Southern University sports, the Southwestern Athletic Conference, and HBCU athletics, there's only one place to go. Tune in to the Carlos Brown Show, exclusively on the Black College Sports Network.
T. Madden and Associates is a sophisticated and experienced law firm located in your neighborhood. We're turning injury to cash.
T. Madden and Associates obtained almost $2 million for my injury. They turned my injury to cash.
Now, we can't guarantee how much your injury is worth, but we've recovered millions for our clients.
Call T. Madden and Associates at 833-PAID-123. That's 833-PAID-123.
Stride K-12 powered schools are ready to put over 20 years of being a leader in online education to work for you. Dive into curriculum design for the online classroom. Team up with state-certified teachers trained in virtual instruction. Take control of your child's education journey. Discover the power of personalized learning with a leader experienced in preparing kids for a future they can be excited about. Take charge. Stride K-12. Enroll now for the fall.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Carlos Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network. We have the gang here I always feel so good when Coach Pettaway and Willa Brown join the show. I can just sit back and just listen to their perspective. Also, Charles Edmond. Glad everybody is together again. First and foremost, Coach Pettaway and Wheeler. Wheeler, start with you. Good afternoon, sir. How you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. Good afternoon, gentlemen. Hope all is well.
Good afternoon, Carlos.
All right, Coach Pettaway. Coach Pettaway always looks so comfortable and Wheeler laid back. I think me and Charles maybe look more intense. Maybe I don't know.
Hey, it's not game time. It's not game time. It'll change when it'll change at game time.
and that's what that first hour and a half of the show will do to you also. It's intense. It's intense over there now.
Okay. Well, what I would like to do, appreciate it. Under my What's Trending segment, we kind of announced it, but we can get into those topics for the rest of the show because I got 12:22 Central Standard Time, and just kind of get your perspectives and your thoughts on the different topic, what's trending. Coach Pettaway, and everyone can give their opinion on the topic. FAMU selects Bridget Gordon, women's basketball coach. I went and looked up a resume on paper, and we'll see a few years down the line, but that seems like, just my opinion, on paper, I think it looks very good. It seems to be a very good hire.
Right. Well, I think so too. I think, she played under Pat Summer, who's one of the greatest women's basketball coaches of all time. She played in a great program up there at the University of Tennessee. And then when you look at her resume, she's been to a lot of different places. I mean, Georgia State and Stetson are the only two places that are comparable to the SWAC. But right. But what I'm saying is, every place she's been, it's been on the major college level. So she's bringing a lot of expertise. She had an opportunity to play in the WNBA and then overseas. So she's got a lot of experience, and I'm quite sure through all of that, she has learned something about the game of basketball. So it's just going to be a wait and see. Her putting together a staff that can recruit. And I came in on part of that last segment when you all were talking about football or Southern football and the atmosphere. When you start talking about picking a staff, your staff is another family.
Yeah.
If you got that going to where your staff is like a family, then you bring the players in, that's another family. Then you got your own family. So these are the signs that you look for in stability in a program and in a real program, not just a team, but a program. So that's how you build a program, by bringing people in that you can trust, bringing people in sometimes that and sometimes you don't know them, but you think that they would be a good fit for your program. So, I noticed in her resume that some of the places she was a scout. So that means that she's been at that table sitting down, looking at talent. So she's been able to look at talent and determine who can play and who can't play. So when it comes to recruiting, that really helps you, because as a coach, like with me, I look for quick twitch athletes. I look for athletes who can jump 2 times before you jump once. And when you get those kind of kids on the basketball court, then you got something special. But I really like that segment about that staff, and that's very key. And when it spills over to your team, when your players see that you and your staff get along, it helps them. It galvanizes them, and it brings everybody closer. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Willa.
And I was gonna say, now add that piece with the administrative side.
Right.
Wheeler,
yeah.
Did you have barbecues and all that in relationship with not only the coaches but the student athletes?
I mean, and those are things that you want to have on a regular basis. I want to piggyback on what Coach Pettaway was saying. I think it was kind of an out of the box hire in a couple ways. Her first time being a head coach, I'm thinking, if I'm reading her bio correctly, my questions, if I had any, was, can you do without? Are you used to being, quote unquote, in this kind of environment where I's and T's aren't necessarily dotted and crossed on a regular basis? How will you handle the lack of? And that's going to be the tail of the tape, so to speak, especially in terms of being a first-time head coach. We always say those 18 inches that you're moving from the second chair to the first chair is like moving 18 miles.
Yep.
And so we'll see, how well she surrounds herself with, quality people. We'll see if she brings in people that are strong wherever she's weak. But ultimately, we'll see how well she deals. And I'm going to say this, and it's going to come out the wrong way, how well she deals with us in terms of the HBCU culture, that sort of thing. And, having to deal with the little nuances that go along with being, at our institution. And it's not easy. And it's something that you need to be prepared for in advance as much as you possibly can. But understand that it's coming. The trials and the tribulations, they're coming. And it's not going to be a walk in the park on a daily basis. And it's going to be frustrating at times. And, the key for all of our coaches are, can you handle those kinds of situations? So that's where I am with that.
So you're basically saying, if I'm hearing you right, institutions like HBCU where the resources may not be where, or is not where she's accustomed to at her other stops as an assistant and coaches, and how you kind of can deal, how do you deal with adversity in that aspect? And I guess, Willa, hopefully she knows that coming into it, but knowing is one thing, but then actually having to deal with situations, I understand it is another way. So if you're in the AD's position and you're making that hire, you're going to ask those questions that are not so comfortable and tough, correct?
Oh, definitely. You need to find out as much as you possibly can before you pull the trigger on that. And hopefully she made the AD comfortable enough to go ahead and make that hire. I mean, on the surface, you look at her resume, you look at where she's been, look at her experiences, and it screams good hire. From that point of view. And, you really need, from an administrative point of view, to find out where her head is, find out what shakes her up, what makes her rattle, how she will handle, different kind of adverse situations, that sort of thing. And, then as AD, you got to feel comfortable ultimately making that call. And, hopefully Tiffany Don Sykes, the AD at FAMU, has done that, and obviously she felt comfortable enough to make the call. But and even with all the questions, Carlos, I've always said it's almost impossible to get to know everything you need to know about a candidate in a 2-hour interview or hour and a half interview, or if they come on campus for a day, that sort of thing. So the only thing you can do is do that best guesstimate and get the best feel that you can possibly get, and blow the dice and roll them out there, and hope you don't come up snake eyes, and try to keep it moving from there.
Right, and see, Will, I think one of the things that you also can look at, coaches, a lot of coaches who have coached at the major college level, they can't make that adjustment because we don't have everything that they have. I mean, they were great recruiters because of where they were, because they had the finances, they had they could travel, they can go where they needed to. But what's going to happen when they tighten the budget strings, when they say you get that mandate, well, no off-campus recruiting for right now. What's going to happen then when a person who has been accustomed to going when they want to, when they needed to go, and then now you being handicapped because of budget constraints or something like that. So it's a bit of a difference, but hopefully she understands that, and she'll be able to work through that, and then Florida A&M will be happy, down the stretch. But
and how do you feel? How do you feel about spending your own money? You know, because as a coach on our level, you know, that's par for the course.
You better know it.
You want to go out there recruiting somewhere or something like that, and AD tells you there's no money available. Do you just sit in the office and say, I can't go out, that sort of thing? Or, do you check your bank account, see if there's something there that, can tide you over, and or call a home girl or a homeboy that's in the city where you're going and look, I need a sofa tonight or tomorrow night, and do you keep it moving from there? And ultimately that's going to help to determine, whether or not they're going to have a successful program.
Right. You got to get the job done. Recruiting is the biggest. That you got to recruit. So you better find a way.
But that's interesting, because I'm listening to the conversation, and not making it about me. I work in the East Baton Rouge Parish school system, and I see teachers, taking their own. And by the way, teachers should get a big increase across the board.
Oh, no doubt.
And support staff. But you see that they love doing what they're doing, and sometimes they take their own finances to add on. When you look and you see a kid, that is challenged from at home and needs certain things. I've done it, and you help them out. So when you were talking about that, as coaches, putting, their own finances in, that just shows you in some places the situation. But anyway, go ahead, continue.
Yeah. To me, that's taking ownership of your program. That's all that is. I'm all in. When I coached, I was all in, and I guess I like when they say, find something that you like. Then that way you never work a day in your life. See, that's the way basketball was for me. It was that's what kept me going. I was hardly ever sick when I was coaching, because that adrenaline, that rush, and it went year round, because as basketball coaches, when the season's over with, it's over with for the players and for games, but that's when the metal meets the road right there, because now it's time to recruit and do other things to make sure that your program is in good shape. So, basketball has given me everything. And to me, I never work. I've enjoyed this more than anything else in my life. And I guess the biggest thing, you get to meet so many people, man. You get to meet so many people around the country. And I think that's just great.
Well, Coach, I have a question. In terms of the timing of the hire, in terms of expectations for this upcoming season. I mean, obviously, the coach is way behind the 8 ball.
Right.
Classes is getting ready to start. You got some players there. What's the expectation realistically? And I'm sure the FAMU administration, AD Sykes, realizes she's way behind, and whatever you can get out of this year, you can get out of it. But knowing that you've missed the recruiting cycles, most of it, what's the expectation for FAMU?
Well, I'm hoping they're not too high, because you have really handicapped this lady. She's coming in a couple of weeks before school starts. She's got to coach whatever's on that campus, and I hope that an assistant coach stayed there to keep the kids that they did have. So I'm hoping that she does have a team, because you think about this now, this late, there's nowhere she can go to get anybody. If a kid is if they can play it off, they should already be committed and in school somewhere, getting ready to show up on campus. So at Florida A&M, I think they had to pipe down their expectation this year, give that young lady, give Coach Gordon an opportunity to get in there, hire her own staff, and then recruit the kind of players for her style of play. So it's going to be very interesting to see what she has to say. I'm looking forward to the basketball media day to see what her expectations are. But, from the program that she came from, Tennessee, she's still going to want to try to win. She's going to try to win with what she got. And I guarantee you she's going to put her heart into it. If Florida A&M made that commitment this late, she's got to still put her heart into it.
Charles, you're going to you're going to evaluate her based off of her management of the program. You know, how well does she come in and get the buy-in from the kids who are already there?
Right.
You know, how well can she get the buy-in in terms of the kids adapting and adjusting to her style of play, to her system, you know, the whole 9 yards to go along with that, the disciplinary aspect, things of that nature. You know, you're going to evaluate her based off of those things as opposed to wins and losses. And you know, if she's smart, which obviously she is, you know, she's made it clear that, you know, the expectations from a one-loss point of view, as Coach Pettaway was saying, really going to be down. That's not gonna make a difference. You know, but I'm going to judge her based off of how well she manages the program. How do the kids pay attention to her? You know, are they gravitating towards her? Are her X's and O's solid, even if they don't work, because she doesn't have the kids in place to make it work? You know, but, you know, can she adapt and adjust to what she has? You know, what's her system like? That sort of thing. You know, so there are all kind of things I'm going to be able to judge her on from an administrative point of view early on. That's going to kind of help me determine whether or not I did right by pulling the trigger. And then naturally, as the years move on and she's able to turn the roster over, so forth and so on, you know, we get back to the ultimate goal of, you know, are we in the hunt in terms of winning championships or being in the upper third of the conference, or, you know, whatever the goal may be at that time. But, you know, this is going to be a key in terms of the evaluating of her, just to see how she's going to react. This is going to be big right here. This year is going to be as big as year 4, when she has all of her players in place and everything is working on all cylinders, that sort of thing. This year is bigger than that, because you're really going to see where her heart is, where her mind is, what she's bringing to the table philosophically and otherwise. You know, you're really going to be able to tell, you know, what's going to happen when the rubber meets the road.
Right.
Seems like she's building.
Go ahead, Charles. I'm sorry.
Seems like she's building a foundation. So this is a foundational year.
Correct.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And as far as off the court stuff, you know, I've worked with several coaches in terms of the inner workings of how things are done at Alcorn and how to process things, how to process paperwork and the travel and the logistics. You know, I've worked with previous coaches on that, and it is an adjustment. It is different than what you might expect. So, you know, I'm sure FAMU has a travel team, a logistics team in place that will help take some of that off her plate. But still, you still have to put your hands on it at some point. Whereas the bigger programs, you don't have to touch it at all. And I think that's going to be a huge adjustment. I'm sure she's probably got her budget before she took the job. I'm sure all those numbers were probably explained to her before she got it. She knew what she was walking into. And, you know, you make the best of it and hope it works. Landon Busty, a classic example, even though he's not on the pro level, going from where he was at Prairie View, 3 straight regular season titles as an assistant, coming to Alcorn, 6 seed, 2 regular season titles, all that. So he understood what he's walking into, made the best of it. I think the same thing probably could happen at FAMU.
Right. And one of the things, gentlemen, we got to keep in mind, think about who she played for now.
Yeah.
I think we may have
lost.
lost.
As a coach, now she coached her teams hard. Now, we had an example of that. Remember, we hired Tamika Randall, who played at Tennessee. All right. When Tamika came to Alabama A&M, that lady, her philosophy was just like Pat's. Now, we don't know what Coach Gordon is going to do because she's never been a head coach before. Is she going to take on what Pat Summitt did? Pat Summitt coached those women hard. I got a chance to sit and talk with her. I watched her practice. She gave me some idea. I was too soft on my players and some of the stuff.
Not you, Coach.
No way.
I'm serious. Like running 1 in 10s. I put 10 seconds on the clock. Pat Summitt put 9 seconds on for them ladies. And when I saw that, I said, wait a minute. The ladies can run it in 9 seconds. I said, okay, fellas, you getting 8 now. I'm not giving you 15 no more. I said, because this lady has found a formula where she pushed those kids. And what I'm saying, she did it in the right way now. The kids bought in to the way she coached the team. And so that's what I'm going to be looking for with Coach Gordon. Her first time sitting in the real seat, the first seat, where is she going to take? What is she taking from everybody she's coached with or coached under or played under? What is she going to do? What is going to be her philosophy? How is she going to handle her team? How is she going to coach her team? That's what I'll be looking for.
Right. And Coach, I'll just add this. And you know, whenever you change over a coaching staff and that person bring in, just like you were saying, you're going to lose some people because that might not be what they want. You know, now from a mental standpoint, you know, some will buy in, some will be tough, some will be challenged, and they will accept that challenge and stay with it. So I just kind of want to add that piece to it. And then I also say this though. Now, you know, mind you, the colors are not one of my favorite colors, but that arena is outstanding. That she has, so that can be a selling point as she goes out and recruit as well. But you'll add some and you'll subtract some.
Right. And Charles, that team, their team last year, their women's team, they weren't that bad now.
Right.
I enjoyed watching them. I enjoyed doing their game, watching them doing the game. Man, they played. I know they played Alabama A&M. They went after us. Yep.
Well, Carlos, I've been around a lot of head coaches. We've had a lot of turnover at all corners in terms of head coaches. And the 2 words you just said is critical for a first-year coach. And you know this, Coach Pettaway, buy in.
Yep.
There are going to be some players that are not going to buy in.
Correct.
It's just even in business, you get a new CEO, there are going to be some people that are going to fall by the wayside. It's unfortunate. But even on the collegiate level, there are going to be some players that are not going to buy into the hard coaching because you know she's going to coach them hard in the first year. You know that. Tanya Edwards did it when she was at all. I mean, you know, Landon Bussey did it. There are going to be some players that aren't going to buy in. And either you get with the program, either you're all in or all out. That's what a former baseball coach once told me. Either you're all in or you're all out. So we're going to see the ones that are all in with the different philosophy and the ones that won't. That's going to be interesting as well.
I would agree. We'll move on now. We got about 17 minutes left. Pepsi Company announces the largest SWAC partnership to date and expanded deal. That's a big thing. That was announced against SWAC Football Media Day. And a quote from Commissioner Dr. Charles McClellan. He says the Southwestern Athletic Conference is pleased to partner with Pepsi Company and its impressive portfolio of brands to enhance our student and fan experience starting this season with much needed improvements across the conference. From an AD perspective, Wheeler, we're always going to pick on you. At least I am. I'll pick on everybody, even Charles. Largest SWAC partnership to date. It can only be a good thing, in my opinion, from a non-athletic administrator perspective.
Right. I think it's great. Go ahead, Wheeler.
Carlos, I'm gonna be a boo bird on that.
Okay.
What does that mean?
I'm waiting on you to tell me.
What and so that's what I'm saying. That's my question. Okay. What does that mean? What? No, stop. Wait.
I don't want to read.
Hold on.
I don't want to read the whole thing.
Hold on. I'm just saying. Just saying. You could read the whole thing, Carlos, and you still couldn't tell me what does that mean. Does that mean I'm getting more product for my team, for my players, so forth and so on? Does that mean that there's going to be a bigger check being in the disbursement pool at the end of the year? You know, what does it mean in layman's terms? You know, I mean, from an AD's point of view, I'm going to clap because everybody else is going to clap, you know. But when I'm in that room with Dr. McClellan and those guys and the powers that be, I want to know what this means. I want to know You know what it means in terms of dollars and cents. I want to know what it means in terms of product. I just want to know the nuts and bolts. So I mean, right now we got corporate speak going on. So until somebody tells me exactly what's what. I'm gonna applaud with everybody else. Everybody else is gonna applaud. I'm gonna applaud. But definitely, I need to know what's behind door number 3. Somebody's gonna have to tell me something.
But wait a minute, that's fair.
I said the same thing. What is going to be the commitment for each institution? Because you take a school like Alabama A&M. I already know. They just signed that multi-deal with Coca-Cola. So what are they going to require of Alabama A&M? Their hands are tied. They're Coke exclusive. They kicked Pepsi off our campus. When I was there, Pepsi was my sponsor. I lost a sponsor because we signed an exclusive with Coca-Cola.
And you got other schools that are Coke exclusive.
Right. That's what I'm saying. So this must mean only for championship play, because it can't be per institution. So I think what's going to happen, now this is me, I think that in the championship, whatever championships you're in, it's going to be dominated by, not dominated, it'll be Pepsi exclusive. That's the only way I can see it, because I don't see them coming on individual campus and saying, well, you got to go with Pepsi products. No, that's not going to happen. Not at A&M, because who's going to replace that money that Coke is putting in? Now, I think you're right, Coach, because I lost a major sponsor for my television show, and Coke didn't pick that up. You know why? Because we signed exclusive. They didn't have to deal with me. They didn't have to deal with me. So that's why when you walked into Elmore, Charles, that's why you saw them Pepsi sign, because they were a major sponsor of men's basketball. Everywhere else on campus, their scoreboards were Coke or something. Mine were Pepsi. And they were my sponsor. And Pepsi was the only thing you could get in Elmore at that time. Then we get a change in administration. They go say, we're signing this deal with Coke, and you have to come along for the ride. And that's what I did. I wrote it out.
Well, I think Coach Pettaway, you hit it. I think it's more of the and like I said, I didn't want to read for the whole thing, but valid point, Wheeler. You can ask valid questions on this show, and you can also now what it's going to also make me do a little homework. I'm still in good standings with him, Dr. McClellan, and maybe I'll invite him to come on. I know he's a busy guy, and he can kind of explain the nuts and the bolts of this. But I think Coach Pettaway, I think you're right. I think it's championship, right? Championships. So that was what's trending. We can't go a whole hour talking about it, but we could.
Right.
But Will is a tough guy there.
And then in the commissioner's press conference, he talked about that the SWAC schools received the largest payout that they've ever received before, and then he expects with this new deal, he expects that to go up. So we had with the conference as a whole is I think is on strong foundation. I think he even mentioned that they've already paid the note out on the building. The SWAC headquarters, they now own that. So he's doing things the right way. I think that Pepsi contract would be strictly for our championships. Yep.
All right, we'll move on from that one. Well, we're going to run out of time again because I still want. No, that's no problem. No problem. We'll just get you back. I also wanted to do some NBA stuff, but I'll get to one of them.
The NBA?
Yeah, the Summer League. I was going to be specific. Other things we could talk about at another time, of course, the SWAC announces the 2023 football schedule, of course, because, the blue and gold I look at. Southern's on 9 times. I think FAMU is on even more. Jackson State, all of their games. I'll go to what can Brown do for you? Then I put a Coach Pettaway and Charles. Wheeler, your perspective on the 2023 football TV schedule announced by the Southwestern Athletic Conference. And then also HBCU Go, some SIAC games going, CIAA. So I just don't want to say exclusively the SWAC, but even next week, we may can get on who's going to get BET Plus, Tyler Perry or Byron Allen. But anyway, go ahead.
I think it's more opportunity than ever now, Carlos, in terms of, our particular institutions being televised and streamed and things of that nature. So this is really, really a great time to be, HBCU athletic program with all the opportunities that are out there, that sort of thing. And, great opportunity for our institutions to shine and, do a great job in terms of the presentation factor and things of that nature. So, I mean, there's nothing but pluses there all the way around. And, it's a combination of, highlighting your more popular schools, no doubt about that, the schools that people want to see, but also, the little guys are getting a chance to, show themselves also, maybe not at the same rate as the Southerns or the Jackson States or things of that nature, but, they're getting an opportunity too. They're not being left out. And so that's all a plus. And the more venues that are out there, really, the better, the more options that are available to all our schools. So, there's nothing but positive there, Carlos. No doubt about that.
Right. And Charles, you know what I really like? I like when I heard that Jackson State, every game was going to be on. Now, when they had Coach Prime there, every game went on a network. And I think Coach Taylor in his press conference, he talked about that, how excited he was that all of their games. So this came about after Coach Prime left. So that means all that tells you is that the SWAC is in demand. That we, as a conference, we're in demand, and that's a good thing for our institutions, for our athletes, and I just think it's a win-win situation.
Charles, there's life after Coach Sanders.
Yeah,
before and after. Go ahead, Charles.
Yes, you are absolutely correct. And just, the SWAC is getting more shine than ever before. Yep. The commissioner did, commit the fact that there were more media requests this year than was last year, despite what left. But Charlie Neal was in Birmingham, right? HBCU Go, and he was just sharing the fact that you can watch HBCU games now on your phone on the app. You can dive into HBCU athletics anytime, any of their program. You can go back and watch anytime. And so it's great for the conference. Every week HBCU Go is going to be a part of HBCU football and the SWAC. So I mean, it is a wonderful time. And as you mentioned with BET, where you got ESPN Plus, you got HBCU Go, you got some other little small regional networks going to be doing some stuff. So where is it going from here? I think the sky's the limit.
And thus, even with that being said, I'll throw this in: the pressure to continue to win and win quickly. We can dress up a pie very good with all the fillings inside, nice cream on the top, looks great. But if somebody doesn't get all of that pie, 3/4 of that pie, they're going to complain. And so there's going to be even more, with all this being said, more pressure on coaches. Because you got, what can Brown do for you? Willa Brown, who's associate AD, he's looking. He's under pressure. So that leads me into this. Another big story. We got about 6-7 minutes left. Ashley Robinson. He has a choice. When you're doing a great job, you get people that want to hire you, right? Nobody wants to hire somebody that's not doing a good job. So with that being said, he basically, and we'll find out the end results of all this, he has a choice to stay at Jackson State or, from a personal standpoint, be closer with his kids in Houston, Texas, Prairie View A&M. Prairie View A&M wants him to become their new AD. Jackson State counters with an offer from the last report I saw. Wheeler, from an AD perspective, you're in Ashley's position. You weighing the scales. What do you do? And then I'm going to come to Coach Pettaway. You're a coach. You got the same offer. Charles, you got the same offer, but maybe from a different perspective, and I'll leave myself out of the equation.
Well, I think it's a tough coin flip. I mean, there's no doubt about that. At some point in time, the loyalty factor gotta kick in. You got to be good to those who are good to you. I know he had just signed an extension at Jackson State, I think, which was good through 2026, which they didn't really have to do, because he was still under contract at the time, but they showed good faith and I think put 3 more years on his contract, that sort of thing. So to me, they took a big step in terms of trying to keep him on board, that sort of thing. Now, Prairie View steps in and, don't know the dynamics behind that. I thought Ashley was from the Jackson area, if I'm not mistaken. And, family in that area, that sort of thing. So going to Jackson was going home for him. Don't know the exact situation in terms of Prairie View, that sort of thing, in terms of why he left Prairie View and what makes Prairie View more attractive now than it was before he left, or, this, that, and the other. So, that's some personal issues, I think, or some personal demons that he's going to have to wrestle with. If I'm Jackson State, I've put a good offer out there by extending him, 3 more years on his contract, what have you, and I'm sure a raise came with that. I'm not going to get into a bidding war with Prairie View. That I'm not going to do. I think the programs at Jackson State are on solid ground. And I'm not saying it's a plug-and-play position by any means whatsoever. But what I am saying is that somebody can come in and pick that ball up and really keep it moving, keep it running, that sort of thing. I think there are a lot of things in place to where if Ashley leaves Jackson State, it won't be a rebuild or anything such as that. I think they got a lot of things already in place for the next AD, whomever he or she may be, to be able to come in and kind of keep that ball. So I don't see him skipping a beat from that point of view. So to answer your question, I'm not breaking the bank for that one at all, but I don't begrudge anybody trying to get what they can and all they can, because we know our jobs are here today, gone today. And, it's a matter of, comfort level where you feel comfortable, that sort of thing. But if I'm Jackson State, I'm not getting into a bidding war with that at all.
Right. I'd like to see Ashley stay at Jackson State. And I'm coming from the basketball side of it. He brought both of those coaches in there. He knows both of those people. He should stay and let them honor their contracts. He brought them in there. He should stay with them. I'm hoping that's what he does. But, you got to think about family. And I'm like you, A.D. Brown. I thought Ashley played it in Jackson at one of the high schools there. So he's from that area.
Oh, he did, yeah.
So that's home for him. So I would like to see him stay. And some Prairie View, they're solid. They can get them somebody. But I think he should stay in Jackson. That's just my opinion.
It's on me now.
Yeah, I said time is short, so
I'm gonna be perfect. I'm gonna go a little different direction. If I'm perfectly, if I'm him, and if Prairie View offers me a pretty doggone good offer, knowing my family, my kids are back in Houston, even though I've been at Prairie View before, knowing the different dynamics that's going on at Jackson State, a new president's coming. And so even though he's done a really good job there, how much, you don't know what the new president's going to do. Not saying they're going to, he or she's going to make changes, the politics behind it. If Prairie View gives me an offer I can't refuse, and I did well there, and my family's there, I probably would look to move and go back. Now, I have heard some people from Prairie View people say we don't need to go down this road again because Ashley was there once. You need to go in another direction. Not saying Ashley did anything wrong, but just people just don't want to see the recycling. But if I'm him, if I got a really, really good offer from Prairie View, if I'm Ashley Robinson with my family and all, I probably would take the gig and move back to Texas.
Well, they always say sometimes you have to weigh your offers, the balance of the scales. You want it balanced, you're here to there, but he'll make the decision, and we'll find out the results of that decision. The latest I'm hearing is I think he stays at JSU.
Yep.
But that's just the latest. Quickly, still no news, Coach Pettaway. James Harden.
Dame time is running out. The NBA, hey, look, they say, listen, you got to make your mind up because we are not going to put up with this, not playing for a team just because you want to trade. So the NBA has spoken, so we shall see. Y'all better get on that phone with Pat.
Hey, you want me to ask him? Coach Pettaway.
Yes.
Pat said he'd like to meet you, and he'll send the private jet to get you in there. No, Pat, you can't. I can't convince him to come on your side of thinking. I can't. But no movement. James Harden, Damian Lillard. I still believe, and I saw that notice. You see how I'm looking, huh? Stay out of it. I still say he's going to be in Miami when it's all said and done.
I don't know, Carlos. I'm really, with every passing day, I'm a little bit more skeptical. I thought it was a done deal a month ago, but no movement as of yet, and I don't know.
My prediction, and if I'm wrong, I'll come on here and say I was totally wrong. But all my sources, and I got them. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. Well, we're at the end of the show, guys. Coach Pettaway, I promise we'll talk about the summer league because once again, I find it very good. I've really enjoyed summer leagues in the NBA the last few years, and with the young players and seeing them develop. Oh, by the way, quick comment from everybody. Keep it under a minute. Our thoughts and prayers with Bronny James.
Okay.
He went to Carter.
Yeah.
Look,
that's tough. That was tough.
I know about health issues. That is nothing to play with. And our thoughts and prayers with him. Hopefully, he'll be able to continue his career. But if not, life supersedes.
Right. Yep. Absolutely.
That career. Willer, Charles, anyone?
There's no doubt about that. And like you just stated, we want the best, for the young man. If he's able to continue his basketball career, that would be icing on the cake. But if he's not, appears to be a very intelligent, very thoughtful young man, and know the best of everything is ahead of him, and so he'll be able to make that transition to the other side and keep it moving.
Yeah, and my thing would be my heart is out for he and his family, but basketball is not everything. You got life.
Right.
Whatever decision Bronny and LeBron makes, whether they play or not, I'm with them because it's a lot bigger than basketball.
Yep.
One day at a time, Bronny.
There you go.
One day at a time. That's what I want to thank Melody, our producer. I want to thank Willa Brown, Coach Pettaway, Charles, everyone in the chat room. I see the conversation. Boy, JSU and Southern fans, y'all love each other. You love each other to death. Continue the conversation. Also want to thank the Blue and Gold Century Club coming on to be a proud sponsor of the Coles Brown Show. Until next Saturday at 11 a.m. Boy, he gets it in early, don't he?
Yeah, he gets it in.
For another edition of the Coles Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network. Until next time, as always, peace and God bless, and go Jags.